Yellow. What's up, you guys? It's MikeyBoss56 here with another video. I'm going to start a welding series called Welding 101. So, the first thing that I'm going to go over is safety gear. Now, the safety gear that you for sure need, no matter what, is a welding helmet. I have two different types of welding helmets. This one is a fixed shade, which a fixed shade, I know you're not going to really be able to see, but a fixed shade you can't see through no matter what until you start welding or look at something bright. Where an auto darkening, which is this type, you can now it's pretty dirty, but you can kind of see through. So, in my personal opinion, I think everyone should start out with an auto darkening helmet. Because, for instance, this one, I got it for $24 on Amazon, and the only thing that really ever went wrong is I didn't know that you had to turn it off. Because on this one, there's a grind mode for cleaning metal with a grinder, cutting metal, for cutting metal in general. And then there's a welding mode with different shades. I didn't realize that you had to turn it off on the grind mode before you put it away, so I ran through a battery kind of quick. But the next thing is the welder. So I'm going to talk about the parts of a welder. So this piece right here is called, there's two terms for it. I call it a stinger. A lot of people call it a stinger, but you'll also hear it be called an electrode holder. But this is pretty important. You need this. But one thing all welders have in common is their power supply. But this is actually where you put an electrode, which is the filler metal, and what is going to melt the metal using electricity. Put it in, and then that's what it looks like. You tap it on the metal, you scratch it. I'll go over that in a different video. But that's one thing that you need. The next thing is a ground clamp, a workpiece clamp, an earth clamp. There's a couple different things they're called. I call mine a ground clamp. There's probably more technical terms, but I haven't heard them. The next thing that you're going to need is electrodes. Now, there are a lot of types of electrodes. I have just two of them here that I'm using as an example, but 6011s and 7018s. So that first number, that 60 and 70, that is the tensile strength. So the 6011s, 6010s, 6013s, they're all going to be able to hold a tensile strength of 60,000 pounds, where a 7018 is going to be able to hold 70,000 tensile strength pounds. Now, that other number, the 18 and then the 11 is the 1 is the position, and then honestly I can't remember what the fourth number is, but I suggest no matter what, until you get pretty advanced, getting a electrode with a 1 as the third number. I'll go over electrodes a little more in a different video, but another thing that makes it pretty helpful, which you don't truly need, but it's very helpful and you definitely should get at some point, is a grinder. Now, I have a Black & Decker grinder I got it on sale for $25 on Amazon. They normally are $28. They're cheap. This one works great. It's a 4.5-inch grinder. Now, this is the flap disc, and I'm realizing this flap disc is pretty much done. But this disc in particular is a 120 grit. There's 120. Again, I got this off of Amazon for a 20 pack, I think, and it had 40 grit, 60 grit, 80 grit, and 120 grit. And it was $20 for, I think, multiple of each. Definitely suggest it. Now, the next thing is a way to cut the metal. It's a cut-off wheel or cut-off disc, whatever you want to call it. This one is 115 millimeter. It's a, again, I got, I think, 50 of them for like 10 bucks on Amazon. So there's no excuse to not have them. You do go through them kind of quick, but still, they're important to have. They can only really cut thinner metal. But the next thing is going to be a wire brush. Now, the wire brush, when you're just getting started, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, this one I think was like 8 bucks at Lowe's. Or if you're like, okay, I'm for sure getting into welding, I want to do it no matter what, you can get something like this. This is, this one is for my drill. For my drill, you can get them for a grinder. It's a wire wheel pretty much, and it's for cleaning the weld off. Now, if it has a flux on the outside, which I'll talk about in another video, so anything, stick welding and flux core welding, you're going to need a chipping hammer, because there's a light slag that creates an atmosphere to keep the weld from oxidizing and the liquid metal to oxidize. Pretty important to have. So, you don't need to have them, but I think they're pretty helpful. The last thing that I'm going to talk about in this video in particular is gloves. These are leather welding gloves, and if you're like, oh yeah, if I wear these, they're fireproof. Do not think that, because you are wrong. You can see there, it lit on fire. There, it lit on fire. So they will still light on fire. But I think that's everything that I plan on talking about in this video. Yes, that's everything I plan on talking about in this video. And when you watch the next video, yes, I filmed them in the same day. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And be sure to be safe.